Today, we're heading to a galaxy far, far away, where lightsabers hum, droids sass, and one of the most powerful metaphors for mindfulness was hiding right under our noses: the Force. Welcome back, fellow mages, to the Grounded Mage, where we explore how myth and magic exist in everyday life. Yes, that Force. The one that surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. But here's the thing. The more you look at Star Wars, the more you realize George Lucas wasn't just writing a space opera. He was creating a spiritual manual disguised as science fiction. And today, we're going to unpack what the Force can really teach us about mindfulness, presence, and learning to trust that quiet inner voice that whispers, not shouts, when you finally slow down enough to hear it. So let's get into it. The Force is basically mindfulness with better branding. Have you ever noticed how Star Wars Jedi always talk like they've been through a weekend mindfulness retreat? I mean, listen to this quote from Yoda. Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. That's not sci-fi. That's straight up Buddhist philosophy in full Jedi cosplay. George Lucas has admitted that the Force was inspired by Taoism, or the Way. The idea that there's a natural flow of life energy that connects everything, and peace comes from aligning with that flow, not forcing against it. Sound familiar? That's mindfulness in action. It's also why the Jedi don't chase control. They surrender to awareness. They feel, they observe, and they trust. When Obi-Wan says, "Use the Force, Luke," he's basically saying, stop trying to think your way through everything. Presence is stronger than perfection. Psychologically, that's on point. Mindfulness therapy teaches that the mind is most powerful not when analyzing, but when it's aware. Studies show that mindfulness literally strengthens the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain responsible for focus, emotional balance, and decision making. So when Luke puts away his targeting computer and uses the Force, that's not blind faith. It's deep embodied trust. Luke's not guessing. He's feeling. He's dropping into the zone, the same state that athletes call flow. And the more you look at it, the more you realize the Force is the flow state. It's that space where your thinking quiets down and you just are. When was the last time you stopped overanalyzing and just trusted what you felt? Did things go better when you did? In The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon Jinn says, "Keep your concentration here and now, where it belongs." That's mindfulness distilled in one line. Qui-Gon was the original unbothered Jedi. Calm, grounded, and hard to rattle. He doesn't live in the past or the future. He just is. Psychology calls that the present moment awareness state. It reduces anxiety, lowers blood pressure, and helps your body stop preparing for imaginary danger. Most of us, though, we're Luke Skywalker on Dagobah when he first starts trying to use the Force. You know, when he sits there like, okay, I'm trying to feel the Force. Nothing's happening. Am I doing it wrong? Maybe I need a better cushion. And you know what? That's normal. Even the Jedi had to practice mindfulness. When Luke was on Dagobah, he was frustrated, distracted, and impatient. And what does Yoda say? All his life has he looked away, to the future, to the horizon, never his mind on where he was. That's basically the ancient Jedi way of saying, Luke, stop doom scrolling your thoughts and be present. And the honest truth is, no one is good at practicing mindfulness when they first start. It's like trying anything new. You have to work at it every single day in order to become an expert at it. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you try to be mindful. Because your mind is the Millennium Falcon, fast, noisy, and constantly breaking down. Your mind's default mode network, that's the system that makes you daydream, replay conversations, or plan 5 years ahead while you're brushing your teeth, is constantly running in the background. It's like C3PO on a sugar rush. The odds of surviving this meeting are. And mindfulness doesn't delete that system, it just teaches you not to let C3PO drive the ship. In neuroscience, mindfulness has been shown to quiet the default network, especially in regions like the posterior cingulate cortex, which lights up when you're lost in thought or judgment. When you anchor to your breath, your brain switches from chaos to coherence, like Han Solo finally fixing the hyperdrive. So, when you sit in stillness and your thoughts run wild, that's not failure. That's turbulence. Just keep your seatbelt on. You're just passing through your own mental hyperspace. And honestly, mindfulness doesn't always feel calm. Sometimes it's more like trying to meditate in the Death Star. Alarms, noise, random emotions popping up like TIE fighters. But that's the point. Every time you come back to your breath, you're proving that you're the pilot, not the passenger. When your mind starts racing, do you fight it or do you let it pass by like space debris, simply letting all those thoughts float by? We all know Yoda's classic line. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. Okay, I know it's not as famous as do or do not, there is no try, but it's still a good one. So let's unpack the anger quote through the lens of modern psychology. Yoda is describing the emotional escalation loop, the way one unacknowledged emotion snowballs into something more destructive. Fear is a survival signal. It tells us something might hurt. But when we don't feel safe enough to sit with that fear, we armor up. And that armor often looks like anger. It's the same process psychologists call emotional displacement. We push down the real feeling, usually fear or sadness, and project it outward. That's why people lash out when they're scared or withdraw when they feel powerless. Anakin Skywalker is a textbook case for this. He never learned how to sit with fear. He felt loss coming, panicked, and tried to control it. But control is the opposite of mindfulness. It's the dark side of presence. Because the more you fight what it is, the more suffering you create. Also, we talked about Anakin a lot in episode 2 about how grief can turn you into a hero or a villain. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you totally should. If Anakin had just one good therapy session with Yoda, maybe some mindful breathing, a guided meditation, a feelings chart, the entire galaxy could have been spared. Instead, he became Darth Vader, patron saint of repressed emotions. Mindfulness doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means feeling them fully without being consumed by them. It's the sacred pause, the moment between the trigger and your reaction, where you can choose not to go full Sith. Can you think of a time when fear disguised itself as anger for you? What might have happened if you'd paused long enough to feel the fear underneath? The dark side is just unprocessed emotion with a cool outfit. Anakin's story reminds us that emotional intelligence is Force mastery. The Jedi code, there is no emotion, there is peace, isn't about suppression. It's about integration. True mindfulness isn't pretending everything is fine. It's being honest about your inner storm and choosing peace anyway. Remember, breathing is your lightsaber. Simple, elegant, and powerful when used with intention. Deep breaths activate the vagus nerve. Viva Las Vegas nerve. If you're not an all-time low fan, you don't get that reference, but I couldn't help myself. Anyway, deep breaths activate the vagus nerve, which calms your entire system and signals to your brain that you're safe now. Even one mindful breath can reconnect the force within you. And that's the real magic, the reminder that presence is power. I think one of the most beautiful things about Star Wars is that the Force isn't reserved for Jedi. It's in everything. The Force is an energy field created by all living things. That's mindfulness in everyday life. The art of noticing the way the sun hits your wall in the morning, the rhythm of footsteps, the scent of coffee, the warmth of your mug. When you bring awareness to those micro moments, you step into the same current that Jedi are trained to feel. It's that subtle hum of existence that connects everything. And there's actually research on this. A field called interoceptive awareness, which studies how tuning into small sensations like breath, touch, or sound reduces stress and increases empathy. In other words, when you're present, you don't just feel better, you become more connected. And that's what the living force really means. It's not energy out there, it's life in here. This is the real Jedi training. Every mindful breath, every gentle return to awareness is a rep. You're not failing, you're training. Even when it feels messy? Yes, especially when it feels messy. Because mindfulness isn't about clearing your mind, it's about noticing it. The same way a Jedi doesn't fight the storm, but moves within it. Qui-Gon's line, "Be mindful of the living force, my young Padawan," is one of the most spiritually loaded sentences in the saga. He's not telling Obi-Wan to be mystical. He's telling him to be alive. Living force is the energy of the present moment. It's the here and now version of divinity. And the truth is, most of us live as if we're force ghosts. Technically here, but mostly lost in thought. We are scrolling through the holograms of our minds, missing the galaxy that's right in front of us. When you truly feel the living force, your breath, your heartbeat, the pulse of now, you remember that aliveness isn't something you chase. It's something you notice. And that's the spiritual secret hiding in plain sight. You don't need a lightsaber or a meditation app. You just need to pay attention. If we strip away the lightsabers and the cosmic drama, the lesson of Star Wars is simple and timeless. The Force is presence. Mindfulness is the Force in practice, the act of returning to center again and again, no matter how loud the galaxy gets. Real strength isn't found in control. It's found in awareness. Because when you're present, you respond instead of react. You see clearly instead of panicking. You move with the current instead of against it. The Jedi didn't conquer chaos. They danced with it. That's mindfulness, the elegant balance between doing and being. And when you practice that, when you show up for your life moment by moment, you become what every Jedi was meant to be. A grounded magician, a mindful warrior, a conduit of the Force. Right here, right now. So, the next time you feel like you're caught in a galactic battle between chaos and calm, remember, the Force is real. It's in you, it's around you, and always accessible when you pause, breathe, and just be here, now. Today, I leave you with this question. What would your life look like if you truly lived like the Force was real? Not just in theory, but in every breath, every choice, and every quiet moment. Thanks for listening. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who may need a reminder to be more present. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next week, make it make magic.